originally thought that I would stop the baking in books, Christmas cookies and Christmas stories video series at 6, which was our last video. But when I realized what recipe was coming up next on my Christmas baking list, I knew I wanted to go ahead and do one last video, because there is no Christmas cookie tray that goes out of my house without this cookie on it. It's a cookie that kind of inspired me to start doing Christmas cookie trays. I watched my grandmother make it when I was a kid. She always put it on her Christmas cookie trays. And while I haven't taken a lot of her recipes and incorporated them into my trays, this one is one that I got from her and I make year after year, and people really seem to enjoy it. And so I wanted to be sure and do a video including lace cookies, and I have the perfect book to go with it. It's The Ornament Keeper by Eva Marie Everson, and I'm going to come around and show you the cover. I love that cover. It's just so classic and clean and simple, and this cookie is as well. It doesn't look like much. People kind of, even after it's baked, look at it a little skeptically, but then they try it and they love it. And it is really simple. So into your bowl of dry ingredients that are mixed up is 1 cup of oats, 1/4 teaspoon salt, 1 cup of sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, and 3 tablespoons of flour. Just stir that all up with a spatula. That's all you're going to need for this recipe. And then we're going to add the wet ingredients, which is 1 melted stick of butter, 1 teaspoon vanilla, and 1 egg. I've got everything except my egg in this bowl because I didn't want to drop it into the melted butter and possibly cook my egg. So I'm going to stir that around just a little bit. Again, you don't need a mixer for this one, just your spatula will do. And now I'm going to crack the egg into it and mix that up well. And that's all there is to mixing up this cookie recipe. What we're going to do now is cover it and put it in the fridge for at least an hour. We want it to set so that it's solid enough to roll into balls, and right now it's more like a bowl of oatmeal. I will bring it closer so that you can kind of see the consistency, and then I'm going to put it in the fridge and we'll be back to bake it in a bit. See, it's a pretty loose consistency. Okay, it's been an hour and my oven is preheating to 350, and I'm going to start shaping these cookies so that we can get them in the oven and see what they look like. I have prepared my pan with parchment paper. This time there isn't any substitution. You can't just spray the pan for these kind of cookies. You can use aluminum foil, but they still are going to have problems coming off the pan. You really need parchment paper for this recipe to work well. And when I say that the cookies need to be 2 inches apart on the cookie sheet, on this recipe, some of the others you get them out and you look and they still fit just fine, and you know you could have put more on there. These do not do that with. They spread like crazy, so do keep them 2 inches apart. And it doesn't look like a lot of dough in here, but that's going to go a really long way because you're just rolling them into marble-sized balls. So you're not looking at like we have been doing with almost inch. You're looking at very small balls of dough and placing them 2 inches apart. And you do want to keep them away from the sides of the pan as well by about that much, because they will spread a lot. And while we're shaping this first tray full and getting them ready for the oven, I want to talk to you about the Ornament Keeper by Eva Marie Everson. This is one that I believe I read last year, and I really enjoyed it. The reason that I chose it with this recipe, I told you this recipe came from my grandmother and that it is very tied into memories from Christmases past and things like that. And the Ornament Keeper does the same kind of thing. In this story, Felicia is the main character and she's not really feeling Christmas this year. She and her husband have just separated, and the last thing she wants to do is set out Christmas decorations and decorate the tree and all the festive things. She just kind of wants to be left alone. But it means a great deal to her children that things are festive for the holiday season. So Felicia agrees to go ahead and decorate. But she doesn't accomplish this in one big decorating frenzy. Every time she opens a different ornament, it takes her on a path of remembering what her marriage was before, remembering what Christmas was before. And so Felicia can only handle a little bit of decorating at a time. But as she does, she starts to see truths about herself, her marriage, and even what Christmas is really about. This Christmas season, I encourage you to give the Ornament Keeper a try and take a trip down memory lane of your own Christmases past. And now I have the tray ready to go in the oven. We're going to put it in. Again, the oven is heated to 350. We're going to put them in the oven for 8 to 10 minutes. They're going to look a little different than most cookies, but as long as they're golden around the edges, they're generally good to come out. When the cookies are ready to come out of the oven, what I suggest you do is just take the paper edge and slide it off your cookie sheet and onto the counter. And once they're mostly cool, you'll be able to pick them up off of the parchment paper without any problem and transfer them to a cooling rack. Here is our finished product, Lace Cookies and the Ornament Keeper by Eva Marie Everson. I hope you'll give both a try this holiday season. Merry baking and happy reading.